Insta360 has recently released their latest 360 camera, the Insta360 X5. The X5 comes with a lot of upgrades and new features. I really want to spend proper time using it in different situations before sharing my thoughts. So over the past month, I've used the X5 for all kind of shooting, everyday clips, behind the scene content on other projects, video coverage at a few camera events, and even filming one of my recent videography workshops. So now it feels like it is the right time for me to finally sit down and give you a proper in-depth review. In this review, I'm also going to compare the X5 with the Insta360 X4 and also the Candle Coolcam 3 Ultra and see how is the performance of this brand new X5 compared to the two other 360 cameras. A quick disclaimer, Insta360 did send me this X5 and a few accessories. I don't have to return them. That said, they didn't pay me to make this video, and if you have been a long-time viewer of this channel, you will know that one of my personal rules is that I never accept payment for reviews. But if you decide you want to pick up the X5 after watching this review, Insta360 is offering a special deal for my viewers. If you use my code in the video description, you will get a free replaceable lens kit, which I will explain more about that a little bit later on in this video. Just a heads up though, it's limited to the first 30 people and valid until July 15, so if you're keen, don't wait too long. Insta360 has been using the same general body design for a few generations now, and honestly, it works well. So when I unboxed the X5, I wasn't surprised at all to see that the X5 looks and feels very similar to the X4. Size, weight, and layout are almost identical. The X5 is just about 1mm taller than the X4, but the depth and width are virtually the same. What really surprised me is that it actually is a few grams lighter than the X4 despite having a larger battery and more powerful processing hardware. You'd expect it to be heavier, not lighter. If you have previously used the Insta360 X4 or even the X3, you will feel right at home with the X5. The controls, menu system, and overall handling are very similar. You have the power button and Q button on the side, and then two main buttons at the front and a vertical touch screen. That said, there are a few small design updates. The most noticeable is the polygonal pattern on the front of the camera, likely just to help distinguish the X5 from the older model. But sorry Insta360, I personally actually prefer the cleaner look of the X4 more. The USB-C port has been moved to the bottom corner, opposite to the battery. Not sure why they changed it, but honestly, I like this placement more. It just feels a bit more convenient compared to the X4. And now let's talk about one of the biggest hidden but most practical upgrades. That is user replaceable lenses. If you have ever used a 360 camera before, you probably already know the lenses are the most vulnerable part. Because they stick out, they are usually the first thing to hit the ground or the table if you drop the camera or even just put it down a little bit too hard. It's surprisingly easy to scratch or crack the lenses. For example, one of the lenses on my Insta360 X3 is scratched. I reached out to the local distributor here in New Zealand to ask about repairs, but probably because New Zealand is quite a small country, they told me they couldn't fix it locally. I have to send it to China and then wait for it to repair there and then send it back. They even told me it might be cheaper to buy a brand new unit, which I thought is a bit ridiculous. So now that X3 is just sitting in my drawer. Then it happened again with my Candle Coolcam 3. One of the lenses broke, and I didn't even know how it happened. You can add lens protector, but those usually would reduce the image quality a little bit, so that's a trade-off. With this new Insta360 X5, you can buy a replacement lens kit for around $36 and it includes everything that you need to swap out a damaged lens yourself. $36 isn't exactly cheap, but compared to sending your camera away for service or worse, buying a new one, it is a much better and cheaper option. Now, just like the X4, the X5 doesn't have any built-in storage. It uses a micro SD card. And unfortunately, the card slot is still hidden behind the battery. That means if you want to access or swap your memory card, you will have to pop out the battery first. This is not a big issue when you're at home, but it can be a bit annoying when you're out shooting on the go. I really hope Insta360 will rethink this design in the future. The X5 is waterproof just like the X4, but now the depth rating has increased from 10 meters to 15 meters. It's not a massive change, but it's a nice upgrade for anyone who enjoys shooting underwater content and give you some extra confidence. For the last 6 months or so, the Canon Coolcam 3 Ultra has actually been my main 360 camera. I love the image quality and it has a few features that no other consumer 360 camera has. For example, the built-in GPS and internal storage. Now, pick up the X5. One of the first things that I noticed was how light this camera feels. Because it is about 60% the weight of the Coolcam 3 Ultra and you can really feel that difference, especially when it's mounted on a selfie stick. Another thing that really impressed me is X5's startup time. The X5 power on in about 1 second, so you are ready to shoot almost instantly. That's a big improvement compared to the X4, which takes around 4 to 5 seconds before you can start recording. A few seconds difference may not sound like a lot, but in real world, it's actually a very noticeable difference. The Canon Coolcam 3 Ultra is also very quick to wake up, but only if it has already been powered on earlier that day. If it's a cold start, meaning it's been completely powered off overnight, it would take around 20 seconds to boot up, and when you're in a hurry to capture something, that 20 seconds feels really like forever. The X5 supports multiple resolutions for 360 videos, 4K, 5.7K, 5.7K Plus, and 8K. As you expect, the details and sharpness improve as you go up in resolution. But there's actually a good reason to shoot at lower resolution too. At 4K, you can record at up to 120 frames per second, which is great for capturing slow motion footage. At 5.7K, the maximum frame rate is 60 frames per second. And for the 5.7K Plus and 8K, you are limited to 30 frames per second maximum. There's also Insta360's active HDR feature, which helps boost dynamic range. But it's only available when you shoot at 4K or 5.7K. The Insta360 X5 uses two 1/1.28-inch sensors paired with a 5nm AI chip and two Pro imaging chips. In comparison, the X4 features smaller half-inch sensors and it only has a single 5nm AI chip. While the X5's f2 aperture is slightly slower than the X4's f1.9 aperture, X5's significantly larger sensor size and extra processing power should give the X5 advantage in overall image quality, especially in challenging lighting. Now let's compare the 8K footage from the Insta360 X5 and the X4. At first glance, they look pretty similar in terms of details and sharpness. But if you look closely, the X4 footage shows a bit more noise, even though it was shot in daylight. The X5 also seems to have better dynamic range. The exposure levels are pretty much the same for the two videos, but the X5 preserves more details in the highlight area in the sky. The Canon Coolcam 3 Ultra with 1/1.7-inch sensors, a bit bigger than the X4, but not quite as large as the X5. However, it does feature a faster f1.6 aperture, which definitely helps its low light performance. When compared to the Coolcam 3 Ultra, one very noticeable difference is the exposure. All these three cameras were set to auto exposure. The Coolcam 3 Ultra footage generally looks a bit darker than what you get from the Insta360 cameras. And I saw the same difference across other shots as well. So if you prefer a brighter image and you shoot with the Coolcam 3 Ultra, you need to bump up the exposure compensation a bit. In terms of details and overall image quality, the Coolcam 3 Ultra is quite similar to the X5. However, I did notice some color fringing in the Coolcam 3 Ultra's footage. Candel's Coolcam Studio software does have a defringe option to reduce color fringing, but I didn't enable it for this test for all the videos, so you could see how the footage would look like with minimal processing. Now going back to Insta360's active HDR feature on the X5, it's available up to 5.7K 60 frames per second, which is an improvement over the X4, which was limited to 5.7K 30 frames per second. But just to clarify, this HDR feature isn't real HDR in the technical sense. Unlike the Candel Coolcam 3 Ultra, which can record proper 10-bit HLG HDR video, the X5's active HDR is still outputting standard 8-bit video. That honestly is a bit disappointing. I was really hoping the X5 would finally bring true 10-bit HDR recording to Insta360's X lineup. I did ask Insta360 if 10-bit support might come via a firmware update, but they said there's no confirmed plan for that at the moment. So for now, the Coolcam 3 Ultra remains the only consumer 360 camera that can output true 10-bit HDR video. If there is one area where consumer 360 cameras still struggle, it's definitely low light performance. I remember when I first bought my X3, I was really impressed with the daytime image quality, but the nighttime footage, it was pretty much unusable. The X4 was a bit better, but still not that great. So this time with the X5, I was really curious to see if the larger sensor and the extra processing power would make any noticeable difference. First up, here's a side-by-side comparison between the X4 and X5. Both shooting at 5.7K, everything was set to auto, including auto exposure, auto white balance. The X4's image is clearly underexposed. I think X4's sensor just hit its limit and can't push the ISO any higher without introducing a ton of noise and artifacts. Meanwhile, the X5 footage is not only brighter, but if you look closely, look at the grass on the ground, you will see more details and better color retention too. Now, when I bumped the resolution up to 8K, the gap between the two cameras got even wider. The X4's footage becomes noticeably worse, darker, noisier, just pretty much unusable. The X5 on the other hand still held up surprisingly well. Not amazing, but definitely usable as long as you're not zooming in too much. Way better than the X4. That's probably why the X4 would give you a warning not to shoot in 8K under low light, while the X5 doesn't have the same warning. It just suggests you to switch to the new pure video mode, which I will get to in a moment. Interestingly, when comparing X5's 5.7K and 8K video, I actually found the 8K video look slightly better. It's sharper, with a bit more details and slightly improved overall image quality. Now, in my Candel Coolcam 3 Ultra review, I mentioned that Candel's low light performance was a bit better than the X4. So here I compare the Coolcam 3 Ultra with the X4 and the X5, all shooting in 8K, and the result? The X5 clearly came out on top. The image was noticeably cleaner, brighter, and more detailed than the other two. The Coolcam 3 Ultra did outperform the X4. The video is a bit brighter and cleaner, but it looked like Candle applied some pretty aggressive noise reduction. So while there's less noise, a lot of fine detail is lost in the process. Honestly, it makes me wonder if Candle has updated their image processing algorithm recently, because it looks quite different from what I saw when I did my Coolcam 3 Ultra review. That said, I still rank them like this: X4 at the bottom, Coolcam 3 Ultra a step up, and X5 clearly ahead of both. But there's more. Remember that pure video mode I mentioned earlier? It's a new shooting mode on the X5 that uses AI to enhance low light image quality. I'm not entirely sure what's going on under the hood. Maybe it's just smarter noise reduction, or maybe there's more. But the results are very impressive. Take a look at this comparison. One shot in standard 8K mode and the other in 8K pure video mode. The difference is huge. The pure video footage is significantly brighter, and somehow it avoids the usual side effects of high ISO. There's very little noticeable noise or artifact. And when I compare the X5's 8K pure video footage to the X4 and the Coolcam 3 Ultra, it almost looked like I had additional studio lighting set up for the X5. There is a really big difference. Now let's take a look at a photo comparison between these three cameras. I try to keep the camera angles as similar as possible when I process them using the desktop software. I render the image out to 4K resolution. I also enable chromatic aberration reduction this time on all the three cameras, but I left the rest of the settings at their default value. First off, just a quick note. You may notice some artifacts around the stitching line between the front and rear cameras. That's because all three cameras were mounted on the same selfie stick, so each one ends up slightly in the frame of the others. If you are shooting with just one camera, you won't see these artifacts. Looking at the colors, the Coolcam 3 Ultra photo has the most saturation, and its white balance leans a bit red. The X4 looks a bit green in comparison, while the X5 sits somewhere in between the two. As usual, the Coolcam 3 Ultra seems to expose slightly darker than the Insta360 cameras. The photo from the X5 feels a bit more punchy overall. I'm not sure if it's due to the lens or if Insta360's image processing has been treated with a touch more clarity or contrast compared to the other two. In terms of details and sharpness, the X4 is clearly the softest of the three, and it retains the least amount of fine details. The X5 is noticeably better than the X4, but this time it is the Coolcam 3 Ultra that appears to be the sharpest overall. The higher 96 megapixel output from the Coolcam 3 Ultra thus seems to offer a real advantage over the 72 megapixel from the X5 if you pixel peep or need to zoom in a lot. The X5 comes with a brand new 2400 mAh battery, which is about 5% more capacity than the X4's 2290 mAh battery. Physically, the new battery looks pretty similar to the old one in terms of design and size. Unfortunately though, it's not compatible with the X4's battery at all. So if you're upgrading from the last year's X4, you won't be able to reuse those older batteries. It's a bit of a bummer, honestly. I remember it was the same when we upgrade from the X3 to the X4, so all the old X3 batteries were wasted. As for the battery life, I did a side-by-side test with the X4 and the Candle Coolcam 3 Ultra. I record 360 video at 8K 30 frames per second on all these cameras. The Coolcam 3 Ultra has a built-in cooling fan, and I set it to silent priority mode, which means the cooling fan runs at a lower speed. I also set Candle's temperature setting to high, and the Coolcam 3 Ultra's output is 8-bit to match the X5 and the X4. My room temperature was around 18 degrees Celsius or so, which is about 64 degrees Fahrenheit. And the Coolcam 3 Ultra only managed to record about 33 minutes before overheating. And at that time, there was about 24% battery left. I was definitely surprised that the candle overheated, especially considering it was not really hot that day. But I will come back to this topic very soon. The X4 managed to record 1 hour and 13 minutes of 8K 30 footage, and then the battery died, which is pretty solid. The X5 went a little bit longer, 1 hour and 17 minutes. So about 4 minutes more, which lines up nicely with that 5% bump in battery capacity. So it's really not bad at all. Back to Coolcam 3 Ultra. So I recharged the Coolcam 3 Ultra's battery and let the camera cool down, and then I changed the fan setting to cooling priority, and I did another run of tests. This time I managed to record 43 minutes of 8K 30 video, and then the camera shut down again due to overheating. The battery still has about 15% left. So it's 10 minutes longer, but it's still much shorter than I expected. But anyway, it does show the X5 seems to have really efficient hardware, as not only it didn't overheat during my test, it also managed to record longer than the Coolcam 3 Ultra. Now let's be clear, while it didn't overheat during my test, it doesn't mean the camera won't overheat at all. If you are shooting on a hot day, especially under direct sunlight, it is quite possible the X5 would overheat, as it is still a very small camera with no active cooling, and it can record 8K video. I also used the X5 recently to record a workshop that I did. I was able to capture the entire 2-hour session in 5.7K on a single battery. So that is pretty impressive. Oh, and the X5 also has a special endurance mode. I haven't really tested that mode myself, but Insta360 claims you can get up to 185 minutes of continuous recording at 5.7K 30 frames per second. If that holds up, it will be pretty amazing. But even just my 2 hours recording without using the endurance mode is already pretty impressive anyway. So right now I have the Insta360 X5 as well as the X4 and the Candle Coolcam 3 Ultra all mounted on a rig. So I'm shooting all 3 videos together. All are set to 8K 30. And I want to do a bit of test comparing the picture quality when shooting outdoor when you are walking, and also I want to compare the audio quality that is captured using the built-in microphone as well. So yeah, just using the built-in microphone, no external microphone. I'm going to switch the audio between all these 3 cameras. I'll show it on the screen, which is the microphone that you are listening to. So it's a bit windy today, so you'll probably hear quite a bit of wind noise. On the X5 and the X4, I have enabled the auto wind noise reduction, but on the Coolcam 3 Ultra, because the camera doesn't have any of those settings, so I just leave it the standard because there's no other settings that I can change. The X5 does have the new microphone design, which should help it to reduce wind noise. So let's see if you can hear the difference or not in this video. When I look at those previous videos, one thing that is very obvious is something that I've also mentioned in my previous Coolcam 3 Ultra review. That is, I really like the color rendered by the Insta360 camera. And this time with the X5, the color rendering seems to be even a little bit nicer than the X4. And also, the auto exposure seems to work really well. I rarely have to adjust the exposure with the video shot with the X5. Now in terms of audio, I think the audio captured by the X5 is not bad. With the new microphone design and also the in-camera auto wing noise reduction, it does make the audio capture by the X5 sounds more clear compared to the other two cameras, especially compared with the Coolcam 3 Ultra, which doesn't have any in-camera auto wing noise reduction. But no matter what, if you're filming outdoor, especially on a very windy day, you will still hear a bit of wind noise, or sometimes it could be quite a bit of wind noise. Now this time with the X5, Insta360 has released a new wireless microphone, which is the Mic Air, which is what I'm wearing here right now. So now let me switch to the audio record by the Mic Air. And I can do it very easily because with the X5 there is a setting which allows you to record audio from both the built-in microphone and the external microphone, so that when you are editing your video you can mix the audio from either of the microphone to whatever you want that gives you the best result. Now another thing when you are capturing video using a 360 camera is that you usually put the camera on a selfie stick, which means the camera is usually at least 1 meter or even further away from you. That means if you just rely on the built-in microphone on the camera to capture your voice, because the camera is so far away, so it is not very effective in capturing a clear voice from you. So if you got a wireless microphone like this Mic Air that you just wear on you, it can pretty much guarantee that you will get a much better, cleaner, clearer voice of you when you are recording with the 360 camera, no matter how far the 360 camera is away from you. Now let's talk about the Mic Air a bit more. If you plan to shoot a lot of vlogging style video with yourself talking a lot, the Mic Air is definitely something that you should consider. As you have just saw or heard, the Mic Air captures my voice much better than the built-in microphone. It pairs with the X5 automatically and reliably. The price is pretty reasonable too. Now that said, there are a few downsides. First, the Mic Air only comes as a single microphone. There's no dual microphone set that you can buy. So if you want to record the voice of two people talking very clearly, then you can't do it easily with the Mic Air. And because the X5 can power on and start recording very quickly, the Mic Air doesn't always pair fast enough if you are trying to shoot immediately. Having said that, this is a common problem for pretty much all the wireless microphone systems. When I first tested the Mic Air, I noticed a pretty obvious audio lag. I reached out to Insta360 and they told me a firmware update was on the way. After updating to the latest firmware, this issue was fixed. Okay, now this is just using the external microphone Mic Air. So it's no longer a problem. But I thought it's still worth mentioning as I have seen some other earlier reviews also mentioned this problem. As for charging, the Mic Air comes with a small USB dock that's easy to carry around, but surprisingly, it uses a USB-A plug. In 2025, I would have expected USB-C. At the very least, I wish the cable is detachable so we could use our own USB-C cable if needed. And let's talk about the range. Insta360 claims a 30 to 50 meter range when the Mic Air is directly paired with the X5 in a clear, interference-free environment. But in my real-world testing, I found the range to be even slightly shorter than that. Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. I'm now testing the Mic Air just to see how the audio quality is like and also how far I can move away from the camera and still able to transmit audio. So right now I'm standing right in front of the camera. I would try to keep a direct line of sight, because for all these latest wireless microphone, having a direct line of sight is very important. So now I move a little bit further away. It is about 5 meters or so, and I keep moving. It's quite windy today, and now I'm about 10 meters away from the camera, and I will keep moving until the audio stops. I can't really listen to it, but I have to check the audio. Right now I think I am getting close to 20 meters. Yeah, about 20 meters away from the camera. So let me keep move a little bit further away, and now about 25 meters, and I will keep moving, and now I'm far away, about 30 meters away from the. Now, Insta360 also offers a USB receiver for the Mic Air to connect to other devices that can use USB microphone, and with that, they claim up to 300 meters of range, which is much more competitive. Unfortunately, Insta360 didn't send me that USB receiver, so I haven't been able to test that part yet. But to be fair, when you're shooting with a 360 camera, most of the time, you got a camera on a selfie stick right in front of you, so the shorter range probably won't be a deal breaker for most people. So the bottom line, while the Mic Air is not perfect, but it gives Insta360 users an affordable, easy to use wireless microphone that fits really well into their ecosystem. For vlogging or casual 360 content, it gets the job done. I love shooting with 360 cameras because it makes filming so much easier. I don't have to worry about framing or camera angles at all. I just hit the record button and it captures everything. But the trade-off is that editing 360 footage can take a lot more time and effort. Thankfully, Insta360 has implemented a few features that help make the editing process a little bit easier. The first one is the AI auto editing feature available in the Insta360 mobile app. This is not really a brand new feature. I have previously used this feature quite a lot with the Insta360 Go 3 and the Go 3S, and I really love this feature. While the result isn't perfect, but it gives you a very solid starting point, and it lets you create highlight video very quickly. Now, a few weeks ago, I went to a Fujifilm event here, and I shot a bunch of 360 video using the X5 at the event. So when I got home, I decided to use the mobile app's AI auto edit feature to create a highlight video. One thing I really appreciate is that I didn't even need to manually copy or transfer the files from the X5 to my phone. The app handles it all wirelessly and automatically. That said, I found the auto-edited result wasn't quite as polished as what I usually get with the Go 3. The biggest issue is the camera angle selection. For example, in some clips, I want to show the people in front of the camera, but the app usually chooses the angle that's pointing at me instead. I think that is understandable. It's not easy for the AI to understand what is the camera angle you want. So I end up going through the auto-generated video and manually adjusting the camera angle for each individual clip to get the look I want. The video I'm showing you now is the end result I got after about 40 minutes. I think it's not bad, consider it was my first time using this auto-edit feature with 360-degree footage. Now that I know a bit more how it works, I'm pretty sure I could get it done in under 30 minutes next time. And if I were to edit everything on my computer, including transferring files, selecting angles and rendering, it would definitely take a lot longer than that. Another feature I really like is the brand new InstaFrame Mode. This mode records 5.7K plus 360 video and simultaneously generate a flat video from a fixed camera angle that you define. You can even choose selfie view, and the camera will automatically track and follow you. And the tracking works really well. Even when swinging the camera around, it still follows me pretty reliably. I think this InstaFrame Mode is great for shooting vlogging style video because straight out of the camera, you already have a flat video file that follows yourself, and you also have a 360 video file that you can use it to generate a different camera angle. For example, if you want to show something that happens in front of you instead of just looking at you. And also another great thing about that 360 file using the InstaFrame Mode is that it is already tracking you. So if you just want to change the field of view a bit, for example, you want to get a slightly wider framing, then you can do it very easily because the camera angle was already set up perfectly for you. The only thing to note is that the 360 video captured in this mode is only up to 5.7K plus, and the flat video is limited to 1080p, not 4K. That's likely due to processing limitations. The camera needs to create both a 360 video and a flat video at the same time. One thing about 360 cameras is that there are tons of accessories available to enhance your shooting experience, or let you capture your footage in new and creative ways. And this time with the X5, there are quite a few new accessories launched as well. Aside from the Mic Air, which I have just talked about a little bit earlier, I've also been testing out the new harness, and I think it's a fantastic way to shoot point of view style video. For example, I recently worked with my friend Piotr, aka Master of Camera, on a product launch video that you probably will see in a couple of weeks time. And I used the X5 with the harness to capture a lot of behind the scene footage. It works really well. Lately, I've been using the Insta360 Go 3S a lot for point of view videos because it's so tiny and lightweight. But one limitation I've run into is that you have to be really careful with the Go 3S positioning and how you point the camera, or you might miss the angle you want. The X5, on the other hand, when shooting in a single camera mode, captures pretty much everything that is in front of the camera, so you don't need to worry too much about exact framing when you are recording. Plus, the battery life is significantly better than the tiny Go 3S. Sure, the X5 with the harness is much bigger and heavier than the Go 3S, but I found the benefits outweigh the downside. I'm not saying it will completely replace my Go 3S. Go 3S compact size still make it the better choice in many situations, but for more flexible point of view shooting, the X5 setup is hard to beat. Right now, I'm planning to have another trip to Japan in a few months' time to shoot some videos with another company, and I think I will probably take the X5 to shoot the POV video for that trip. Another new accessory that I tried and I really like is the new foldable selfie stick. It solved one of my biggest issues when shooting 360 cameras. Having to attach and then detach the selfie stick every time you shoot, then figuring out where to carry the selfie stick when you are done. With this new foldable design, once you're done shooting, you just push the selfie stick back in, fold it, snap on the protective cover, and that's it. It takes at most 10 seconds and it becomes so compact that you can easily slip it into your pocket. No need to carry the selfie stick separately, and you are ready to shoot again in a few seconds. When fully extended, this selfie stick is only 58 centimeters, so about 23 inches. It's quite a bit shorter than most other selfie sticks. But for vlogging style videos, it's more than enough. In fact, aside from a few shots, all the footage in this review was captured using this foldable selfie stick, including the comparison videos that I mounted 360 cameras side by side. After a few iterations, the Insta360 X series cameras are already quite mature. So it's no surprise that this X5 feels more like an evolution rather than a revolution when you compare it with the X4. But Insta360 has made some smart upgrades that makes this camera better for most users. First off, the new larger sensor and updated processor noticeably improve image quality, especially in low light. I'm not exactly sure how much of the improvement comes from the larger sensor versus the new processors, but the end result is clear. Nighttime shooting still isn't perfect, but this is the best low light performance I've seen from a pocket-sized consumer 360 camera so far. Then there are several thoughtful improvements that address common pain points with 360 shooting. The user replaceable lens design, the optional Mic Air wireless microphone, the new InstaFrame Mode. I also like the much faster startup time and some new accessories like the foldable selfie stick. All of this combined together make the Insta360 X5 more enjoyable and practical to shoot with. What I appreciate most though is that despite all the upgrades, the X5 hasn't gotten bigger or heavier. In fact, even with the larger battery, it's actually slightly lighter than the X4. Somehow, Insta360 managed to fit all the new technology into an almost identical compact body without introducing overheating issues. That's seriously impressive. That said, it's not perfect. There are a few things I wish were different. First, the micro SD card is still hidden behind the battery. You have to remove the battery every time you want to swap the card, which gets annoying. I really wish Insta360 can change this design in the future. And speaking of batteries, while I do appreciate the bump in capacity, I really don't like that every new generation of Insta360 camera brings a brand new incompatible battery design. Our 1-year-old X4 battery is still in great condition. Even my X3 batteries still work fine. But now they are just collecting dust in my drawer. It feels like such a waste. After using the Candle Coolcam 3 Ultra, I've also really come to appreciate its 10-bit HLG video output. I really wish the X5 can also do that. Honestly, that's one of the main reasons I believe I will still reaching for the Coolcam 3 Ultra sometimes, even though overall I'd say the X5 is the better camera and it will be my main 360 camera from now on. But the HDR video from the Coolcam 3 Ultra just looks amazing. There are also a few features from the Coolcam 3 Ultra that I love to see on the X5. Things like built-in GPS and internal storage, both of which are super convenient when out shooting. I get that adding this would increase size, weight, and cost. But maybe Insta360 could release an X5 Pro version for those of us who want these extras in the future. But all things considered, for most users, the Insta360 X5 is easily the best consumer 360 camera on the market right now. It's compact, lightweight, delivers excellent image quality, has long battery life, and is packed with a lot of very useful features. The few limitations it has are pretty minor compared to the competition. The X5 once again proves why Insta360 remains the go-to brand for most people. I hope you guys found this review useful, and let me know what you guys think about this X5 down in the comments. And also, what are the things that you like and don't like the most when you are shooting with a 360 camera? And remember, if you are interested in buying the X5 or any products from Insta360, I do have an affiliate link that you can use to support my channel.